Okay, so I wanted to make a video of my top favorite moments of different defendants on the stand, and we are going to start off strong with Alex Murdaugh.
Alex, will you tell this jury about Maggie and your relationship with her?
Y'all saw a picture. She was just as beautiful inside.
Hang on. I have to collect my thoughts. I don't recall all this mouth movement before. You guys, I'm taking the award from Laurie Shaver. I'm giving it back to Alex Murdaugh. What was I thinking? Oh my gosh, I haven't seen this in so long. That's why.
As she was outside. And I mean, she was so adventurous. I mean, you couldn't tell her something was good or bad. I mean, she wanted to find out for herself. She wanted to do it, see it, experience it on her own and form her own opinion. She was devoted. Those two boys, Buster, Paul, me. I mean, she made sure we didn't want for anything, ever. Fun, playful. I mean, she had a laugh that,
Imagine killing your son and wife and then getting on the stand and talking about them like this as if you didn't. I always tell you guys, I think I'm crazy until I see defendants like this, where it's like there's no doubt that they killed their loved ones, and then they're ooh-wee.
you know, you didn't even have to know what was funny. If you heard her laugh, you would laugh. You know, she had this little playful look where she'd smile at you and bite her lip. I can't do it, but I mean, when she just do it, it just melts you.
He is, I don't remember this. He is that's crazy. That's crazy.
You know, she was such a lady, such a feminine person, a girl, but then she had two boys, and I mean, she didn't grow up in the swamp and in the country, riding four-wheelers and hunting and fishing, and I mean, she changed everything.
Okay, I'm gonna try to find the TikTok that I made forever ago making fun of his testimony, and if I find it, I'm going to insert it after this. If I don't, then I'm sorry.
She became a boy's mom. I mean, her life became ball and riding four-wheelers and, I mean, doing those things. Now, don't get me wrong, she was still 100% girl, and you heard Marion say, I mean, she loved to do those things with her nieces, but I mean, she threw herself into her boys' lives. I mean, you know, she never took not working for granted. I mean, she might not have worked, but I promise you, she worked. And she worked to make sure me and Paul and Buster had everything.
Yeah, she worked for free. She took care of you. She took care of the house. She took care of the kids. She just didn't get a paycheck. You got everybody's paychecks and bought drugs with it and killed them.
You know, she wanted a big family, and pregnancy just didn't suit her. Her pregnancies were so hard. I would leave her in the morning.
What? If I were his attorney, I would start redirecting. Nobody needs to know about Maggie's pregnancies, about how she bites her lip, about this or that. This is what I was saying about all the other stuff. Laurie Shaver did it. They add all these little details thinking, oh, if I add all these details and include all this stuff about this person that I swear I didn't hurt, that they'll believe that I would have never hurt them because I know all these things about them. No, they didn't buy it. You're in prison.
Mornings and she'd be sick. I'd come home and check on her and she'd be sick. I'd come back at the end of the day and she'd be sick. I mean, she was so sick all the time with both those boys. And when we had Paw, Maggie got in trouble and Paw got in trouble.
Oh, Papa! When we had Paw, here we go. Oh my God, I hope I can find this video. Paw and Roro and Mags.
And just pregnancy didn't suit her, so we decided that, you know, we would just have the two boys. And, you know, I just think how hard it was on her, just made her love those boys so much more. And she did. But she was the kind of person, Maggie, you know, she could put on the most elegant ball gown and go to the governor's mansion and hang out with, you know, the most affluent people, whatever. Or she could come down to, you know, she could go to a food bank in Hampton or Walterboro and fit in. Everybody at both places would say when she left, and that Maggie, she's a good one. She's just a special person.
Alec,
Very special person.
would you ever do anything to harm Maggie?
I would never hurt Maggie. Ever.
Will you tell the jury about Paul, please, and your relationship with him?
And Paul, I mean, Paul was just the brightest. He was the brightest. He's the most inquisitive young man. He wanted to be a part of everything. If you were working, I can remember as a little boy, you'd be working on something. It didn't matter what it was. His little head was going to come in there, his nose in there to see what you were doing. He was a man's man. He was a 100% country boy. He was tough. I mean, he could hunt anything. He could catch any fish. He could run any piece of equipment. He could use any tool. I mean, he could do anything. At 22 years old, he could do so many things. I mean, he took care of so many, and he was so tough. But on the other hand, he had a side to him that was just so sweet. I mean, he wouldn't come home where he wouldn't go check on his grandparents. He wouldn't go near Somerville where he wouldn't go out of his way, check on his grandparents. You know, to be such a tough person, he would get all of his buddies and get on a boat and go watch a sunset. How many 22-year-old people you know do stuff like that? I mean, he was such a special boy. He cared about people. He was fiercely loyal. He was so misrepresented in the media. I mean, never an accurate story told about what he was. And I would challenge you right now. I would challenge everybody in this room to go find somebody that knew Pawpaw.
Okay, there's an entire documentary on Netflix. I think there's actually several out in general that will let you know all about him. He still didn't deserve to die, but yeah, this fuckwad.
You really knew him, that did not have an ulterior motive that would say something negative about him. And I challenge everybody who can hear me now to do that. I mean, Paul was that kind of person. If you knew him, he would help you, and he would be glad to help you. You know, I thought Mark Ball made a good point when he said, you know, Paul might not have quite found his place yet. Paul was ADHD, and so he would jump around from thing to thing a lot. But there's absolutely no question in my mind whatsoever that Paul would have found whatever that thing was that he was going to do. And whatever that ended up being, he was going to be one of the best at it that you've ever known. And I'll tell you one more thing. I didn't even know this when Paul was alive.
Cooking for one doesn't make sense. If you want to eat better without wasting hours cleaning and prepping.
But, excuse me. When they were doing his eulogy, I gave the names of some of his friends, and he had a real cute friend that they were just friends, but a cute little girl that Maggie adored. I didn't know her very well, but Maggie did. Maggie adored her, but they talked to her, and Paul, we learned this from her, Julianne. And at 22 years old, I learned, Paul would tell his friends, be present, appreciate where you are, the things you have, and the people around you. I think a lot of that came from it hurt Paul so bad when Mallory died. But how many 22-year-olds do you know that think that way? Be present. Appreciate things around you. At 22 years old.
Alec,
He's the most special boy.
do you love Paul?
Did I love him? Like no other. He and Buster.
Do you love Maggie?
More than anything. I love Maggie from the first time we went out.
Did you kill?
He ate his boogers. He just ate his fucking boogers. He licked the booger. Ugh.
Maggie.
No, I did not kill Maggie. I did not kill Paul. I would never hurt Maggie, and I would never hurt Paul. Ever. Under any circumstances.
Thank you. Please answer any questions the state may have.
Sir. Thank you.
Gentlemen, we'll take a
Okay. So now that's included. If I end up finding, which I'm still scrolling, looking, I have it saved. I will try to include it if I can find it. But yeah. God.
Yeah, no, yes, I wasn't down at the kennels with Mags and Paw and Row and Poopy Patter. I was taking a nap. My pillowcase was full of 8,521 Percocets. I remember that exactly. I can't tell you where I was from that time. I know that I was sweating and I needed to take a shower at that point. Yes, I stole from those people. All of them, but that doesn't mean that Pawpaw and Papa T and Row Rag and R and Poopy Patter Painter Panners, that doesn't mean that they needed to go. I don't know where those guns are. Those are our guns. I just don't know why those exact guns are missing, and those were the exact guns that killed my Pawpaw and my Mags. Let me just tell you, I know that you want me to tell you that I killed them, but I'm gonna tell you the recipe to Papa T's stuffed mushrooms first. You know. One day I went boating out with Row, and Row was like a best friend of Bus. Alright, he was a best friend of Bus. There were times that we would just go out on the lake and shoot the dove and, come back, and Mags would have my poo-poo drawers and my Percocets laid out for me, and she was so comfortable. And then Blanca would make really good tacos, and I'm not denying that her testimony was a lie, but it wasn't. I love her. I know I hurt her, but listen, I don't get anything in jail. I only win 7 soups a day, alright? If I'm lucky, Bus will come and visit me or call me, and we'll talk about all the docuseries that my name's under that's just completely false. 1 second. I'm sorry. Mr. Waters, I'll answer any questions that you ask me, sir. That's what I'll do. But first I'm going to teach you how to do the Macarena. Mags loved doing the Macarena. Her favorite color was pastel purple. No, I just didn't kill him. No.
I can say the word murdered on here on YouTube. I'm so used to TikTok. Murdered her husband like 7 years ago, and pretended to be him, like on his cell phone, lied to a bunch of people. He was actually shot, and then she like made a fire pit or something with her new boyfriend on top of his body, and of course she testified, and it was horrific. And her attorney, God, both of them together will give you the heebie freaking jeebies.
Please state and spell your full legal name.
Laurie Filmer, Lauriefilmer.
Okay. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or
She's
affirm
already
that
crying.
any testimony
She's
you
already
give today
crying.
shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing
She
but
is
the
ready
truth,
to
so help you
perform.
God?
She's
Thank
so,
you. Please
oh
proceed.
God, I can't.
Miss Filmer, would you state your name for the record, please?
Laurie Filmer, previously known as Laurie Shaver.
A big day in your life, isn't it? Big week. It's been several years, hasn't it, Miss Filmer?
Grab your tissues. Grab them. She's horrible.
Let's
Horrible.
tell me when you're ready, okay? Would you tell the jury who you are and how you met Michael Shaver?
I met Michael, we started dating in 7th grade. We lived in a very small town in Lawrence, New York. Our school was K through 12, 500 kids. Our graduating class was like 14, 18 kids. We went to kindergarten together. I met Michael in tech class, when they actually did tech class, in 7th grade.
So we reached a period of time where y'all elected to get married, correct?
Yes.
Do you remember when that was?
So I'm going to pause here and pick back up tomorrow, but she is another one that this is something that I see a lot with these murderers is they all give extravagant detail to their stories, as if like building this fence, like, oh look, tech class, when they had tech class in 7th grade and we were in a K through 12 school, all this detail. But then when they get down to the actual crime itself, it's just boom, boom. And you just saw it in Murdaugh as well. He'll give you the details of, oh, Bubba brought the chicken up and Bubba burped and Bubba fucking did the Macarena and Bubba did this and Paul did that. And then they're like, well, what did you say when you left the kennels? I don't know. You know what frickin' which way the wind was blowing in Bubba's frickin' tail, but you don't know if you said bye to them? It's weird. It's weird. All right, I'm going to pick back up. I started this recording last night and it was getting late and Mama likes to be in bed by 8:30, so let's get back into Laurie Shaver's most cringiest worthy of defendants on the stand. I don't want to say that she would take the cake for it because there are some really bad ones, but all right.
16.
Okay. And at some point in time, y'all ended up migrating to the state of Florida.
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember approximately when that was?
I graduated in 2001. Went to college. So Mike was a dropout. He got his GED. He wanted to become a pilot.
Taking digs after you killed him. I always forget I can say killed on here. He was a dropout, bro.
Didn't have much funding for that. My parents paid for it. I went to school for business administration. And focus in health service administration.
Emphasis on focus on what she did. Okay, because Ms. Laurie Shaver was not a dropout. And here's what she did. She wants the jury to know how great she is and how terrible her husband was.
So I was very socially awkward. Wasn't a popular kid in school.
Okay.
My brother, one of my oldest brothers, I'm the youngest of 5. One of my brothers got meningitis at 7 weeks. And he was
Here comes, remember I said this yesterday. All these little intricate details of things that we don't need to know. We don't need to know about your brother's meningitis. Hope everything went well, but the jurors don't need to know that. Too many details on things that don't matter.
severely mentally retarded. He got picked on a lot. Up in a small town that was not like acceptable way back then. And I spent all my time in the handicapped classroom. And that was like not popular. I was an outcast. He used to get beat up on the bus, right? In tech class. We became friends. He was an awkward kid as well, because he was kind of like a troublemaker at that time. And I didn't have anybody, he didn't have anybody.
Another dig.
We kind of clung together at that point.
Okay. So there's some period of time.
Her attorney so frequently is like, okay, please quit talking now. Please stop.
Went by, y'all got married, ended up down here, correct?
Yes.
Mike wanted to be a pilot, couldn't do that, or what?
No, he did. Yep.
Okay. Did he?
Eventually did.
Okay. Did he fly commercial, or was it a hobby?
Nope. He, my parents helped him get his personal private pilot's license.
Something else that Miss Shaver's going to take credit for, okay? Don't forget, this man was killed years ago, and she still to this day wants to make sure that she's shitting on him.
He wanted to go on and get his professional pilot license. My parents told him that if he was going to date me, he was going to get his GED and they would help him. He looked to his family to get assistance with that. He was denied. So it took some time. It took a lot of time, but eventually he made his way. He started flying for Pan Am Flight Academy, which is the lower division of U.S. Airways out of New York City.
Okay.
Yep, he was doing good.
And that made her cry. Why? City's so fucking weird. I swear on my life.
So eventually you end up down here, and Mike transgresses into another occupation. How did that happen?
And a new place with no family.
All right, I want to get into cross-examination with her because that's truly where it's the best. She does all her theatrics truly in the beginning, but which reminds me of that other woman. Oh, what was her name? I have to go back in my history and look. She unalived her daughter. Gosh, what was her name? I have to look this up because she was very theatrical on the stand as well, and of course she was found guilty. She actually tried to say that it was her son that shot the daughter, her son that was 3 at the time. Let me find that. Robin Howington. She's going on the list right now. I'm writing her down. Robin Howington. Yeah, girl, I gotta make a list so I can check it twice. I'm like Santa, being naughty or nice. Okay, let's get to the defense or to the cross. Ooh, look at her. She does make a lot of eye contact with the jury. But just watch how much her body language changes, and I'm no expert. I'm not claiming to be no expert, but the tears and all the theatrics seem to go out the window. All right, let me stop talking so we can get through this.
Ms. Shaver, in the beginning of your testimony, I believe you may have misspoke. Mr. Wiggs asked you when you were married to Mike Shaver, and you said May of 2016. When did you get married to Michael Shaver?
2006.
Okay. That's okay. Now, the biggest question I have for you, because you didn't mention it once in your entire story, is when did your husband get killed?
The exact date I cannot recall. It was beginning of May of 2016. It was not November.
Okay. So sometime, you don't know, but sometime in May of 2016 is when this happened. Okay. Now, your phone number prior to this homicide was 352-431-0419, correct? You don't know your phone number?
That's not my phone number now.
Okay. You don't.
I do not recall my.
Okay. But if that's the phone number that is from all those screenshots between you and Jeremy Townsend.
Sorry, guys. I got like 3 phone calls and I had to do annoying shit. So let's get back to it.
That you saw,
Yes.
would that refresh your memory that that was your phone number?
Yeah.
Okay. And you, at some point, changed your number to 352-431-8444, correct?
I don't believe. I can't recall that because at some point I put my parents on my phone line.
You remember seeing the court document that was submitted into evidence where you put your address and phone number on it?
Yes.
Okay. And that 844
Okay.
number
Yeah.
was what you listed?
Yeah. I don't remember the phone numbers from back then, and since then I have also had my parents on my phone bill.
My question was whether or not that was your phone number. You agree that the 8444 number was your phone number based on that court document?
Yes.
You would have been truthful in a court document, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I also, one of the statements that you made, I think you said you wouldn't recognize Jeremy?
Today, when he walked in, I would have never recognized him today. That's not what he looks like.
All right. Now, you mentioned the fact that he had this skull tattoo. You have a skull tattoo too, right? All right. So that doesn't really mean anything.
I had mine way before.
Okay. Now,
We are the Skaggs family, Matthew and Cosette, and we are owners of Jellyfish Lighting. We've lived in this house 7-8 years, and I had not put up Christmas.
you were saying that you met Jeremy Townsend in August of 2015.
Yes, at the end of August.
And that he passed you some sort of Post-it note. Yes?
Yep.
All right. And you had talked about because you had marks on your face or something like that. Is that a yes?
Yes.
All right. Now, according to you, Michael Shaver had left the residence in November of 2015, correct? Your residence.
Yes.
All right.
I had kicked him out.
All right. Well, I thought that you were the type of person that would just shut down and retreat and couldn't confront anybody. That was your words, right?
No, I said that I'm not the type of person where if you come at me and say something like belittling me or anything like that, I shut down and retreat. I'm not confrontational.
All right.
And that was in the context of
You kicked him
me and my daughter.
But you were confrontational with Mike Shaver.
Yeah, I told him to get out because he knew that if I called the cops, and he would definitely be kicked out, and he would be picked up. So
All
yes,
right.
it was pretty much easy to get him out.
Let's try to figure out this timeline then. In September of 2014, he was arrested for a domestic incident that involved you, correct?
Correct.
And that is when he went to the airport hangar, correct? Where he started living.
Yes.
All right. Did he move back into the house after that?
Yes.
All right. When did that happen?
I don't know the exact time.
Okay.
It was.
Fun. How long had he
It
been gone?
wasn't. He had been gone over a year.
All right. So sometime in 2015.
It was, yeah, probably summer 2015.
Okay. So if the arrest was in September of 2014, approximately 6 to 8 months that he was gone?
No, it was greater than that because he had finished his probation period.
Okay. And in that incident, he also suffered injuries, correct?
Yes.
Because you hit him over the head with a gun, correct?
Well, he had the gun pointed at my head, and at that point, I was done. I thought I was giving up at that point. I had nothing left in me until I seen my kids come out and start screaming. And as soon as I seen them, I took and slammed that gun into his head. Yes.
Okay. Have you ever told anyone that he was not at fault for that incident and it was actually you?
No.
No. Did you throw a vase of flowers into the sliding glass door and break that?
I did.
We're getting into specific conduct that the state has moved to exclude.
Okay, can we approach, please?
Sidebar, please.
Yes, it was.
Okay. So then in August, I'm sorry, you're saying you actually started a relationship with Jeremy Towson in August of 2015?
Started talking in August, and Michael was still at the residence.
Okay. So after November of 2015, he does not come back to the house.
Correct.
So that check that was sent to him and deposited in his account, he would not have received, correct?
I don't know. He got his mail.
How did he get his mail if he wasn't at the house?
The mailbox was not at my residence. It was at the end of the road.
Okay. So after he left in November of 2015, are you saying that he would just come by every day to pick up his mail?
I don't know what he did.
Did you ever notice any mail missing?
How would I know if it was missing?
Did you ever notice any of your stuff missing?
No. Did he
Did you
have
ever
his-
notice any mail coming for Michael Shaver to that address after he left?
Yes, a few things.
What would you do with that in order to get it to him?
I would take it back to the post office and do return mail. No longer at this address.
Where was it going?
I don't know.
Where was he?
I don't know. I assumed probably back at the hangar.
If he left in November of 2015 and went to go live at the hangar, why would he quit his job at Disney?
Because there was a sexual harassment charge against him.
Okay. You heard that his supervisor came in and said there was no such thing and there's nothing in those records, correct?
Oh, I did. I heard that.
Are you saying that Disney falsified those records?
The sexual harassment complaint filed against him came directly from Michael's mouth.
Okay. And you had access to his bank accounts, correct?
Yes, he had access to mine as well.
And you withdrew money from his accounts, correct?
And deposited money, correct?
All right. In November of 2015, what deposits were you making in his account?
I have no idea. I'm not sure that I was.
Deposit that Mariner check into his account?
No, I have no idea what that is.
All right. The money from the sale of all of his property, how did you get that to him?
Well, it was not necessarily his property.
Okay,
It was
what about
on
his guns?
his guns. Okay, so after he was arrested and
My question was, how did you get the money from the sale of his guns to him if you didn't know where he was?
I did not give him the money from the sale of the guns. Those were not his guns.
Would you have any way, if you say you don't even know where he is, would you have any way of getting him any of that money?
No, I never said I gave him money.
You just said you deposited money into his account.
No, I mean, that was throughout the whole marital. I would deposit money and take out money. He worked overnights. So during the day, if he needed anything, any shopping and all of that for the well-being of the house and the kids, I would do that during the day because he was sleeping because he worked overnights.
As far as the Facebook records, all the stuff from the Laurie Shaver Facebook account, you would agree you posted, correct? All right. None of that stuff was anybody hacking you or anything like that?
Did not appear so.
All right. And you had access to Michael Shaver's Facebook, correct?
Previously.
Okay. How did you have access to his account?
Well, previously we had a joint account. After we had separated in 2014, I believe we separated emails, Facebook. Prior to that, everything was joint. After that, we went from a joint bank account to 2 bank accounts, 2 emails, 2 Facebooks. Prior to that, everything was joint because he controlled everything.
Did you have his password?
Previously, well, it was a joint password because it was a joint account.
When he had his own account, when did he start his own account?
After we had separated in 2014.
All right. Did you have his password for that account?
Well, that was our account.
When you said he started his own account, my question is, all right, and did you ever post anything on his account?
No.
Anyone else living in your house after the May of 2016 that had access to his phone or password for Facebook?
I don't know about the password, but there was 2 tablets. There was a laptop and a desktop.
Did they have his Facebook profile in it?
Everything was automatic. Everything was already logged in. So all you had to do was just log it, like open it up, and you were automatically logged in.
Was your daughter posting on his Facebook?
No.
Was your son posting on his Facebook? Oh. Now, did you ever tell...
No, it's just Laurie posted on his Facebook as him.
Tell anyone that after he left in November of 2015 that he was in jail for failing to pay child support?
I did.
Right. That wasn't true, correct?
No, it was not. That was an old manager that I had a relationship with way back when, and he had moved back from Connecticut to Florida and was reaching out to me, and he was curious. I was not.
That's Ramin, correct?
Correct.
And that, when you say relationship, that's another affair, correct?
Correct.
But you told him that Mike was in jail for failing to pay child support and his license was suspended, correct?
I give him my personal information, and he was asking about that because.
Okay, wait, hold on one second. How is Mike being in jail your personal information?
Accurate personal information because he was questioning. Because prior to that, there was conversations where Michael had threatened once again, after finding out, to kill me.
All right. So when you told your manager that you had a prior affair with that Mike was in jail, that was a lie. Did you tell your sister that you guys had been working out a separation agreement?
Yes. Well, we actually did work out a separation agreement, and it was filed with court.
In order to do that, you have to get was that here in Lake County?
Do you guys notice how when she answers the questions during cross, she doesn't look at the jury like she did on direct? It's because she's not controlling the narrative.
It was.
Okay, so there is some sort of divorce proceeding with your name on it and Michael Shaver's because you just said you filed something in court, correct?
I did not say divorce. You said separation. So after 2014, after that incident, we both had attorney representation, and Michael and I came up with an agreement, handwritten. We both signed it. That was filed.
Where?
Here.
Where?
At this courthouse.
What case is that in?
Whatever the prior DCF is, and I had won that case with no adjudication. I don't know where that record is.
She looks at the judge like the judge is going to tell her. She's looking at the judge like, can you help me? No, Laurie, no one can help you.
But it was filed, and in that agreement, he agreed to pay X amount of money. I would keep the kids. He could not take the kids. He would see them every other weekend, whatever. We had that separation. I made more money than he did. I covered the health insurance. I covered the kids. I kept the house. He was moving out of the house, and he was going to pay XYZ.
I. The number one thing that a narcissist will say over and over and over again is the word I.
That was a handwritten document that both of us signed in front of the mediator at this DCF agreement that I won with no adjudication.
Was there ever a divorce proceeding started?
No, there was not. Not in the state of Florida.
After 2015, was there ever a divorce proceeding started?
No.
When law enforcement came and asked you about the whereabouts of your husband, you were not truthful with them, correct?
I didn't know where he went.
You know what happened to him, correct? All right, you didn't tell him that, correct? The Walmart purchase that was on your husband's bank account, you did that, correct?
I don't recall doing that.
That was sent to your house with your name on it, correct?
Yeah. All right. I don't recall like the exact parameters around it or what I bought or anything like that.
So this event happens in May of 2016, correct? Say yes?
Yes.
Your relationship with Jeremy Townsend ends very tumultuously in May of 2016, correct? Say yes?
Yes.
And your relationship with Travis Filmer then begins in May of 2016, correct?
He came over at the end of May. Yes.
And you were actually engaged to him in July of 2016, correct?
Yes.
In April of 2016, Rebecca Urbanowski was living with you, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And the fire pit itself was built in March of 2016?
I guess so. I don't
That's when you posted it, right? And then how big was your property?
5 acres.
And out of all of that land, you just happened to choose the area where your dead husband's body was found to put that cement slab. That's basically what you're saying here, correct?
No, because I did not know his body was there. It went there because that area was already dug out.
Quite a coincidence, you'd agree, correct?
No, not necessarily. Not if you realize the whole parameters of what came first and how that all transpired. Like I said, that was something that Jeremy and I had originally talked about doing because I had gotten rid of the animals and we had the fire pit and we were talking about wanting to, I mean, it was his suggestion to put in concrete.
So the March 2016 is when you put that fire pit in, and 2 months later.
All right, I skipped forward a little bit because we still have like 4 more people for this video and I want to make sure I can get it all. I don't know what the limit is for YouTube to upload, but this is going to be a long ass video.
His probable cause from 2014?
Yes. You're saying that 5'3" and 130 pounds is inaccurate, is what you're saying?
Yes, that's
Okay.
definitely probably not what's on his driver's license. He was not 5'3". He was like 5'8" and 150, 160 pounds. I was 5'2" and 115, 20.
When Mike left, he left his vehicle, correct?
You're talking about the black car.
No, I'm talking about he had a vehicle and he left it behind, correct?
His black car had been sitting there for a while. He had a bent rim and the air in the tire could not stay inflated. So he was driving my truck back and forth to work.
Right. My question was, when he left and moved out, he left his car.
He's like, right. I don't care about all of that. I didn't ask about any of that actually.
Correct? And he left everything that he had that had any sort of value that could be sold, correct? His guns,
He took
his
stuff,
tools,
yeah.
his ATV, left all that behind.
All the tools that were in the shed were of no use to him. They were like old tools and stuff like that, and it wasn't an ATV.
My question was, he left the stuff behind, stuff that he could have sold, correct?
Correct.
He stopped going to work and lost his job because of it, correct?
I was not aware of that at that time.
So he lost his ability to make any money, correct?
I was not aware of that at that time.
Prior to November of 2015, he would call you on using the phone frequently, correct?
Yes, because he was back in the house and we were trying to work things out.
After November of 2015, there is absolutely no calls to you after that November 7th, 2015, correct?
I don't recall.
There's not a single call to you, to the children, anything, correct?
I don't recall.
There's no activity on his bank other than withdrawals from the ATM in Claremont where you lived, correct?
I wouldn't know that.
November 2015, he just vanishes off the face of the earth. No one can account for him, correct?
I don't believe that's true.
But you've definitely not had any contact with him in any ways until he shows up someday, which you do not know, in May of 2016 when this incident occurs, correct?
No, he showed up prior to May.
My question to you previously was, after you kicked him out in November of 2015, and prior to him coming up the day that he was killed, I asked you, did he ever come, have any contact with you? You said no, correct?
Not physically, correct. But calls and stuff like that, yes.
Calls?
Texts, his threats, stuff like that.
You saw the phone records, which show
Right.
absolutely no
Text,
calls from
Facebook
him
messages,
after November
there
7th,
was-
correct?
Let her answer the question, please.
All right,
He
please
was-
allow the witness to finish. Thank you.
He was communicating.
Her attorney, allow her to answer that question, please.
With Jeremy. I believe he had sent me text. He had sent me a nasty text prior to that, telling me I was just like my mom, something to that effect. He was communicating.
Another thing we don't need to know.
From your IP address.
I don't know that that's my IP address. How can you verify that?
Because it's the same IP address that your account that you says you used posted on as well.
Okay, how do we know that he didn't post on my or log into my Facebook?
Anything else? So what vehicle, the day that he showed up in May of 2016, what vehicle did you use to get to your house that day?
I don't know.
What vehicle was in your yard that you didn't recognize that day?
In May?
Yes. So he gets walked? He just showed up without a vehicle in your house on the back porch.
I was not paying attention to that.
She wasn't paying attention to that because she had killed him already. So let's move on. We are done with Laurie Shaver. We started with Alex Murdaugh. Now we're going to move on to Ashley Benefield. And we're going to do her cross. Does anybody else look at her, like when you see a picture of her, do you think that she sounds different than she would? She sounds completely different than I thought she would.
Start with a couple of issues. So first, Benefield never punched you, ever, correct?
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Doug Benefield never choked you, ever,
No,
He never kicked you.
no.
He never pointed a gun at you,
He waved a gun in my direction.
but it was not pointed at you, correct?
It was pointed at me while he was waving it at me.
He never came at you with a knife
No,
or a club
no,
or a baseball bat.
no.
So there are 30 years difference between you and Doug, correct?
Yes,
And you got married after 13 days.
yes,
And you spoke with him about, or organized with him about starting this ballet.
yes.
Okay. And all of the money for the ballet came from him or investors, right?
My mom also funded the part of the ballet.
You didn't put
Ding 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 ding. Let me move myself back over here. My parents helped. Who does that sound like? The little witch that we just listened to. My parents helped. She doesn't want Doug to take the credit.
anything into it. Money.
Not from my account, no.
Okay. In fact, during this time in South Carolina, you never worked, did you?
He wouldn't let me work.
Okay. When you said in the very beginning he flew you to South Carolina to visit before you were married, he paid for that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the cruise you talked about going on, he paid for that?
No.
He didn't?
He did not pay for the cruise, no.
Okay.
Yeah, he paid for my friend to go, but I had already paid for my mom and I to go, so.
Okay. So he paid for your friend to go?
Yes.
And he did not go with you?
Oh, no. Mm-mm.
I want to ask you about the text messages that the defense talked to you about. It's going to be Defense Exhibit 3. I'm going to hand it to you.
I do want to say that Lana, bro, that's more work for me to do and your crack is out. I do want to say that these prosecutors, they just didn't do it for me. And I know they were both women, and I'm a woman. I'm not sexist, but they just didn't. I don't know. They didn't give the sting and the punch that I wanted them to. Almost a little too aggressive, and I don't even know if that would make any sense. But just like, it's like she just, I don't know how to explain it. Did anybody else feel like that?
But I have the entirety of it on a spreadsheet that I'm going to put up, which is State's Exhibit 99. If we could dim the lights, please. And Judge, based on the rule of completeness, State would enter into evidence State's 99.
Did you want to be heard in addition to what we said earlier?
I haven't actually seen the specific message.
Sometimes I gotta be stimming while I make these videos. You guys, how long has it been since you smelled Play-Doh? Holy shit. Smells so good. All right. Let's get into it.
Well,
Is the answer yes or no?
you only ask my sweet and loving husband, who is gentle to me and kind.
Okay. So I would like to orient you to what we're looking at. So on the top line, it gives whether the messages are outgoing or incoming. That would be the third, fourth column that we're looking at. And what I would like you to do is read the body of these as we go through. I'm going to expand it so you can see it.
We don't need to be read to be honest. I really can't stand that unless it's like something really bad, like Karen Reed stuff. Let's see. These two, and I tell you what, they had hot mics the entire time.
So yes, my love, I think was the last thing you said. And then what's the next thing?
Are you doing things that are dangerous?
And you're going to have to speak up just a little bit.
I'm sorry.
Here.
But she can't speak up because she's battered. She can't speak up. She's got to maintain her character for this trial.
Are you doing things that are dangerous? To think of all the time that you were not with me and understanding them and how to conduct warfare in them for the kingdom.
Where was he when he was sending you these messages? While you were on the cruise?
I believe he would have been in Charleston.
Okay. He wasn't on a business trip?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Continue reading. All the other people.
All the other people. And then a rectangle. It makes me so sad. And then another rectangle. If I dwelt on it, I would go into rage to remove them from the earth.
And your response to that?
Yes, baby, I hate it. It hurts. He said I could defend myself, and you were easy prey for predators. You're sweet and want to please people.
I swear on my life, if anybody went through my text messages, they wouldn't sound like this. It'd be like, I had the worst gas this morning. I took the biggest dump this morning, and then the picture of the turd. So weird.
People, and they used that.
And you said, I'm sorry, and then he said,
I desire to exterminate them and hold a challenge. They are rats that should be removed.
And you said,
oh, baby, my love. Yes. Like that night, like last night, just the jerks arguing near you about put me in a sheer murderous mood, but I was stuck.
Broder, we are going to Maryland and we are going to try and reconcile. And you don't feel safe enough to Broder? No, that's not what I want to do.
I would want to make him look bad in front of somebody else.
Okay.
I wasn't going to disagree with him in front of anybody.
Okay. So the plan was to load up the truck, get everything done, and then move very shortly after the court hearing, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you had no intention of dropping that injunction, so you knew on the day of that hearing, he was going to know, right?
I'm sorry?
You knew that Doug was going to know that you had no intention of reconciling with him.
We had had the conversation many times. I think he understood where I was at.
Okay. You saw the text messages between you and him, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you agree that those text messages do not indicate that?
It doesn't say we're getting back together, moving in together.
It doesn't say we're not going to reconcile.
I mean, not specifically, no, I wasn't going to argue with him.
If you got your injunction on that day, September 30th, how would you have moved together?
Speculative.
I'll sustain.
What was your plan if that injunction was
Speculative.
granted?
Different question, overruled.
Objection. Speculative.
No, you can approach.
And I wouldn't know how to classify it. He struck me, he hit me.
Was his hand open or closed?
I don't remember.
Okay. And because of those things, you claim that you thought he was going to kill you.
He had never hit me before.
Okay. And you thought he was going to kill you.
He wouldn't let me leave. I tried to leave, he stopped me.
The question is, you thought he was going to kill you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you were in the bedroom, you decided to get your firearm. And it was where?
It was in a storage bin on top of the laundry basket.
Okay. So I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 52. If you could turn around and look at that. Where was your firearm?
It was in the bin on top of the basket.
Here?
That's the basket. The laundry
Where was the
basket.
bin?
It's that right on top.
Okay. So it was in here.
Yes, ma'am.
Why would you have a firearm in there?
I had just emptied all the furniture and everything out of my room, and it was kind of like what was left from my drawers, and so it got put into a bin.
Okay. And that was not your only firearm in that room, correct?
Correct.
You had a firearm in the closet.
My carry gun was in my backpack, which is my purse at the time.
So in this room, with a mattress and a broom and a hamper, you had 2 firearms.
Yes.
So you go into the room and you grab your firearm. Is it in a holster?
I don't remember.
Okay. And you claim that Doug does what?
He came and slammed the door open. He was standing in the doorway. He said, "You're fucking done."
He said, "You're fucking done." And that made you fear for your life.
Yeah. I held it out in front of me first so he could see it. And I said, "Stop."
Judge, if I could have her step down so she can demonstrate.
You may.
If you could just come down.
All right. This is truly the only part that, other than like the little few weeping and BS, this is it.
So Doug opens the door and does what?
Standing in the doorway, kind of like this. He said, "You're fucking done." And I held the gun out in front of me and said, "Stop." He got into this like fighting pose where he like turned sideways. And he was like moving around with his like arms in his hands. And he started like inching forward towards me.
So he why do you call it a fighting stance?
He looked like a fighter. Like I don't know, like a ninja or something, I don't know.
Okay, so he's standing there, he turns to like this and starts moving his arms around.
Her story was so scripted and to the T every time, and I truly believe that was one of the main reasons why the jury was like, "Oh God, she doesn't skip a beat when it comes to the details."
Like that.
Well, show me. What was he doing?
Kind of like, I don't know, he got like this, and he was like making like fighting motions. I don't know, I'm not a fighter, I don't know.
Okay.
It was scary.
Did he have his hands in fists?
Not at that point, they were like
I don't know.
Was he coming at you like this?
When he lunged at me, he came very quickly.
Okay, so he lunged. Was his fist up when he lunged?
I don't remember.
So you start shooting, and he does what?
He kept coming at me.
Okay, so then you keep shooting again. And he falls down on his back?
His legs went up in the air.
Okay, where do his legs go?
In the air.
How high in the air?
I don't know.
Do they go over his head?
I don't know. It's like his feet slipped out.
Okay.
And his feet and his legs went up in the air.
And were you still shooting at the time?
I don't remember.
You can have a seat.
What? Oh my gosh. I swear. She truly. Oh God.
So after this incident, you claim that you had swelling to your face, right?
Hang on, she gotta make sure that she acts real hysterical in the microphone. No tears, blows no snot. Girl.
It's going to take a minute. All right, members of the jury, can you please close up your notes, put them on your chairs. I'm going to ask you to
She
step
keeps
out.
going.
You can use the facility.
It keeps going until the jury leaves. So let's go ahead and wait for that.
It's not quite our mid-afternoon break, but we'll treat it as such. Please don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Don't discuss it with anybody outside the jury. Don't do any research like we've talked about.
Watch, as soon as they're out. Oh,
The jury's out. You can have a seat.
jury's out. Theatrics are calm down.
All right, we'll take 5 minutes.
And the award goes to Ashley Benefield. We're done with her. Her sentencing should be soon. Okay, so Robert Tullis did a narrative testimony, which is something that I'm not familiar with. But basically what it is he just got to sit there and tell his story. It's a narrative and there's no interjections. There's no cross. So we're going to go ahead and just click this one here because, oh, and if you don't know about Robert Tullis, he was.
So, this for me was, the thing that just broke me. I'm sorry. I knew I didn't do this thing, and yet the police claim to have this evidence. They did what they did to me, and I have $1 million life insurance policy. I didn't want my family to have to go through more torture. And so I don't know what I was thinking, but I thought, you know what, if I can avoid the pain that they're going to suffer during this whole circus and put some money into their hands to make up for me not being there, then maybe this is the thing to do. But it was, I mean, never, I'm not guilty. I didn't kill Mr. Gorman. But as you can see, I attempted suicide. And SWAT came in and pulled me out and put me into that ambulance.
So in other words, he didn't want to harm himself because he's guilty of killing Jeff Gehrman, but because of the situation he was in. And that's a
moment.
Talk to.
Your Honor, may I just stand up for one moment to show the jury why I didn't wear name brand shoes at the office?
So when I first looked into this case, this was the exact clip that I saw, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to know what's going on. Who is this person and what did he do? Because what the hell?
Just for a moment, and right where I'm at. Okay. So I don't know if you noticed the height difference. I wear lifts in my shoes. I'm about 6'5.5", and I call it a vanity thing, right? I just wanted to feel a little taller. And so if I may just demonstrate why this is important. So
He's 6'5.5", wearing lifts. Without the lifts, he's 6'5.5". Brother.
these shoes that have built-in lifts, they're designed in a certain way where they don't slip off a person's foot when you're wearing them. Right? You can see how this is so elongated because there's a lift in here. Right? So you can't put, it's not, from what I've tried, I could not put a lift in a name brand shoe because that shoe would slip right off. There's not enough of the back of this, once that lift's in there, in order to grab a hold of your foot. So essentially, I'd be kicking my shoes off every time I walk. So, I never wore, again, any type of name brand shoe at the office, and I think that's something that'll likely be discussed at closing, and how that's relevant. I've never beat anybody up. I've never killed anybody. I didn't kill Mr. Gorman. And that's my testimony.
When Tejas wrapped up his narration on Thursday, it was then time for him to face questions from the prosecution on cross-examination, right? You don't just get on the stand and say what you want to say. No, you.
Okay, my bad. He does get questioned. I don't know why he does get crossed. But when you give a narrative, you're able to just sit there and tell your story without any objections or anything like that. And I believe that he did that against his attorney's advice. So let's get into the cross with the prosecutor.
Watched the autopsy, or you saw the autopsy photos, and you were struck by the violence of it, correct?
No, sir.
No, you did not. Were you bothered by the photographs?
I was.
Why is that?
Gruesome. I'm not used to seeing dead people.
Okay. I think you said it was ugly. Is that correct?
I may have.
All right. And you had told this jury that you felt like it looked like someone who knew what they were doing. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
You believe this was a professional hit?
And that's what I believe.
Okay. So, and you believe this killer is kind of almost like someone hired to do this job, like an assassin, essentially, right?
That is what I believe, yes, sir.
All right. Now I want to take a look at this picture for a second. The DNA. I'd like to talk about that with you. You're not disputing your DNA is underneath Mr. Gehrman's fingernails, are you?
Yes, I am.
Okay. But you've heard the testimony. It's there, correct?
I don't know if it was there or at what point it might have gotten there, sir.
Okay. I'm not asking you how it got there. Are you really denying that your DNA is underneath the fingernails?
Without knowing the truth, yes, I am.
Okay, well, you've heard witnesses testify.
Right.
So the DNA lab's in on it too?
I don't know. I don't know at what point. I don't know what point this sample was collected.
Sir, please tell this jury, how in the world does your DNA get underneath Mr. Gehrman's fingernails?
I don't know because I did not kill Mr. Gehrman.
You have no idea how it could have gotten underneath your fingernails, correct?
Under my fingernails?
I'm sorry, under his fingernails, correct?
I don't know that it ever was, sir.
All right. Let's do it another way. You and Mr. Gehrman are not friends, are you?
No.
Okay, you don't hang out with him ever?
Sir, I did not ever hang out with Mr. Gehrman when he was alive.
My question is yes. You didn't hang out with him ever, correct?
I did not.
He's never invited you over to his house.
No, sir.
You've never hung out, had drinks at a bar, correct?
No, sir.
There would be really...
So there would be no reason for you to have his DNA or him have your DNA, whatever. They didn't interact.
no opportunity for him ever to put his hands on you in any sort of social situation, correct?
Correct, sir.
And yet, these two people who are not friends, your DNA just happens to be underneath his fingernails. Correct?
No, sir.
Okay. You just don't think it was legitimately placed there, correct? Or are you just ignoring the testimony of all of the witnesses that talked about how your DNA was underneath the fingernails?
Again, at some point or another, I believe it was planted because I did not kill Mr. Gurman. So,
and by that logic, if you believe it was planted, you are at least admitting, yes, my DNA is underneath his fingernails, correct? Can you at least agree with me on that?
Whether it came from a sample of the fingernails or a different sample altogether, I don't know. I couldn't tell you, sir.
The answer to my question is yes. You're at least acknowledging my
No, sir.
physical DNA is underneath the fingernails.
No, sir.
Okay, great. So you're just going to disregard what all the other DNA witnesses said about this, correct?
Okay,
that's fair. That's fine. Totally fine.
Prosecutor also pushed back against Tejas' theory that Las Vegas Metropolitan Police planted the evidence in this case.
But before we move on, I gotta ask you this too. So like if Metro's really, so you think Metro's framing you for this?
As I said before, I think that we've got some officers who are overzealous and who've decided to help Jappy plug holes in his case, not knowing what his relationship was with Compass Realty.
Here's
I objection, sir. If you'd be allowed to answer the question before.
Okay.
Next question, please.
Sir, I got a question for you. If the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department wanted to frame you, why didn't they put the murder weapon in your house?
I think that maybe, I don't know. I mean, it's a good question. I mean,
Great question, because if the murder weapon that had Gehrman's DNA in was inside your house, wouldn't that be an even better case?
yeah, but at the same time, I think
But it's not there, is it?
no.
No, it's not. Even though, according to you, they control everything, they don't put the murder weapon on you? Does that make any sense?
I think it does.
Okay. How about this? If Compass Realty wants to kill you, why don't they encourage Metro like, we'd really like you to put the murder weapon in there? Why didn't they do something like that?
I don't know.
That seems really odd that the most significant thing is not in your house, correct?
I think what's odd is that 5 days after the murder, that supposedly there was a shoe
So the answer
and
to my
also a
question-
hat in my house.
So the answer to my question, the most significant piece of evidence, the murder weapon, is not in your house despite your theory you've been framed.
That's correct, sir.
According to the prosecution, more than 100 downloaded images of Gehrman were found on Tejas' phone, downloaded before the journalist was killed. A digital forensics tech with the police department also testified that another 132 images on Tejas' phone were from Google Maps, showing Gehrman's home and the street he lived on. Tejas reportedly looked up Gehrman's vehicle registration, his address on his work computer. Once again, Tejas claimed it was planted.
Sir, do you find it a little bit strange that when you find information that's helpful for you in your phone, you don't think there's a problem with it, but when there's damaging evidence in your phone, you believe maybe it's been hacked or compromised?
I do think that if someone was trying to frame me, that obviously they would leave the content that I made on the phone as well as whatever they decided to put on there.
Well, the prosecutor isn't done with Mr. Tejas yet. No, the defendant is back on the stand again at the time of this recording. We will, of course, keep following this case for you, and if there are big developments, we will bring them to you here on Sidebar. What a case.
All right, that's all for Robert Tellis, and we're going to finish this off with Robin Howington, which I was going to finish this off with Jodi Arias, but that would be a 4-hour video in itself. Crazy ass. So let's go ahead and get into Robin. Okay, here we go.
Miss Howington, so we're gonna get into the story that you've told for the first time today here in just a minute. But before we get into that, I want to back up. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to take you back to.
We're starting off strong already. Let's listen to that again.
Miss Howington, so we're gonna get into the story that you've told for the first time today here in just a minute. But before we get into that, I want to back up. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to take you back to the very first story that you told to the 911 caller. When you called 911, we'll talk about that.
Yes, ma'am.
You initially said that it was an unknown black male. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You said that that black male had essentially broken into your home. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that black male who you'd never seen a day before in your life shot your daughter in cold blood right in front of you. Is that correct?
Yes.
You said that Gavin was in the room. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said that when this unknown black male who drove a black, what you believe to be Chrysler 300, you recall telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You said that he looked at you and his eyes got really big and that he just ran out. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that was your initial story to 911 when you first called. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about the 911 call. You just testified that you are walking up into your house and you see the gun go off when Gavin shoots Destiny. Is that what you just testified to?
Yes.
And you've seen the video, the surveillance video from your neighbor's house.
Yes.
Have you not? You've seen that you enter your home at 8:50.
Correct.
Correct? And now you know that the 911 call was not placed until over 3 minutes later at 8:53:53. Is that correct?
Yes.
So you go back in your home after seeing your daughter get shot by your 2-year-old son, according to you today, and you wait almost 4 minutes to call 911. Is that your testimony?
I had to find my phone. It had fell in between the cushions in the other living room.
Okay. So you see
Here we go. Here we go.
4 minutes later. But again, you don't tell any of this to the police initially, do you?
No, ma'am.
You blame it on some stranger that you've never seen before in your life that came in and shot your 5-year-old in cold blood. That was your story initially.
An unidentified person, yes, to protect my
Unidentified
son.
black male is what you said, is it not?
Yes, ma'am.
In a black Chrysler 300, you were pretty specific about that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You said that he wasn't wearing a hat,
Yes, ma'am.
that he was a little bit darker complexion than Officer Wardlaw. You actually you described it even to that extent, correct?
Clarify, now we're on to the interview with Officer Wardlaw. We were talking about the 911 call. If we could break that up so she knows what she's being asked.
All right, we'll rephrase the question. At some point in time, did you later describe him as being darker than Officer Wardlaw?
Yes.
All right,
Okay.
ask your next question.
All right, so that's 911. So police get on scene.
Judge, that's not 911. She says
Okay,
911.
I apologize. Going back to immediately after the 911 call was placed. Police arrive on scene about 3 minutes after the call is initially placed. Is that correct?
I assume.
You've seen the videos.
Yes.
Okay. And you said just now that you didn't even realize that Officer Cummings had taken Destiny outside until the trial today. Is that correct? That's what you just
Yes.
testified to?
Yes.
But that's not true today. He testified on Tuesday.
Okay.
We need to.
Until the trial, her testimony was she didn't realize that Officer Cummings had taken Destiny out. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes.
All right, ask your next question.
And so at 8:56:42, so within about 30 seconds of Officer Cummings arriving, you were on your phone trying to call Callie.
Yes.
Is that why you didn't pay attention to the fact that he was taking your daughter outside?
No.
But again, your daughter's outside at some point and you don't even know she's out there. You don't even know that the police officer has taken your daughter that's been shot outside.
I had went out there and asked if she was okay and if Gavin was okay. That was us also on the video that you just spoke of.
Okay, but again, Ms. Howington, you just testified that you didn't realize that Destiny had been taken outside because you were tending to Gavin. Was that not your testimony just now?
Yes.
Okay, so you knew where Gavin was.
Yes.
According to your own statement just now. But you didn't know that the officer had taken Destiny outside to wait for the ambulance. Until the trial, you didn't know that.
No.
But you were on your phone trying to call Callie.
If that's what it says, then yes. I went out there and they told me to step back, that they were doing everything that they possibly could.
Okay. So let's talk about when you meet Officer Riddle for the first time at your house before you are taken to UT Hospital, okay? You once again make a claim that it is an unknown individual, an unknown male, broke into your house and shot your daughter in cold blood, didn't you?
Yes, to protect my son, I sure did.
Okay. You didn't say anything about the gun being outside at that point, did you?
No.
Again, you're sticking with the...
Imagine being such a big piece of shit that you blame your 2-year-old son on something like this. My God.
The story that it's this unknown man. So to the police officers, they think that there is a murderer on the loose based on your statement, correct?
Yes.
And that statement that you made was made prior to you ever talking to a law enforcement officer that night.
Yes.
So you are the one that put this idea that this was a murder in the investigator's head, correct?
That's what you want to say, yes.
Well, ma'am, it's not my words, okay? Are you the one that told police officers that someone had came in and murdered your child?
Yes.
And so that is the reason that these officers treated this as a murder investigation, is it not?
Yes, but I was trying to protect my son at any cost.
Okay. Now, you also said that the man that came to your house, kind of in the interim, you called that an individual by the name of Jay.
Yes.
You said that you were paying him for window tinting.
Yes.
Again, your daughter was shot September the 14th, 2019, correct?
Yes.
How many times did you tell the officers about this Jay individual?
I don't recall.
You never told them about Jay, did you?
I was confused and everything was coming together from what happened on the 12th.
Okay, but in this statement, you would agree with me, what you just watched, you said that Antoine leaves, didn't you?
Yes.
And you said that after Antoine leaves, that's when Gavin gets the gun. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
You said that you're in the kitchen of your home, correct?
Yes.
And that's when Gavin shot Destiny, right?
Yes.
All right, let's go to the next version. In that one, again, you now put Antoine back in the house. Do you recall this version? When Antoine and you get into it and he takes the gun from you, do you recall telling officers that?
Yes.
Okay, so now, after you previously said that he's left the house, you put him back in the house, and you say that that Antoine took the gun from you, right?
Yes.
And that at that point in time, you say that's when the gun is shot, right?
Yes.
So now it's not Gavin once again.
I don't ever want it to be Gavin, ma'am. I don't want him to live with this. Do you not understand that?
Listen, I'm asking you what you said, okay? Again, you're blaming Antoine here. You're making up a whole lot of facts, I want to be clear about this. The officers are not the one saying that Antoine's leaving, coming, going, none of that, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
It's you that's making up these facts, right?
They brought up Antoine first, and I just agreed with it.
Okay, they brought up that he might have been the shooter first, right?
Correct.
They didn't give you all these additional facts, did they?
No, ma'am.
They didn't put all that in your head, did they?
No, ma'am.
They also asked you multiple times whether or not you were the shooter during your first interview, didn't they?
I don't recall that.
You don't recall them ever saying, did you accidentally shoot your child, or we think you might have shot your child? You don't ever remember them saying that?
No, ma'am.
We will come back to that as well. All right. So now let's talk about the gun. Ms. Howington, you just testified a moment ago that you received that gun from Callie a few months before this, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you say 2 to 3 months, maybe?
Around about, yes, ma'am.
And you also just testified that within 2 to 3 months, you had never gotten that gun out before September the 12th, right?
Before September the 12th?
For September the 12th, when Callie and Antoine are arguing, I think you testified that you didn't have anything to do with that gun.
Is that gun a murder weapon? I'm just asking. If it is, tell us it is. If it's the weapon he used now and you took it outside, tell me the truth. Is it the murder weapon? Because I think we've got ballistics and we're going to be able to tell. I want you to hear it from your mouth. I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. Do you want this straight?
Yes, and he wiped it off.
Okay. You heard yourself just then. Would you agree with me that at this point you've now admitted that the gun found outside your home was in fact the weapon and that Antoine wiped it off, right?
That's what I said, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you initially remember telling officers that you had no idea that there was even a gun outside of your house? Do you recall that?
I will continue to say the same thing, ma'am. I was trying to protect my son, and you just can't accept that this was an accident. You just can't accept it.
Ma'am, listen, my question was, you initially told the officers that you had no idea about a gun outside of your house, didn't you?
Ma'am, I was not in my right mind. I had just seen my baby shoot my daughter. Do you not understand?
I hear what you're saying, but my question to you was, did you initially tell the officers that you had no idea about any sort of gun outside of your home?
If it's on the video, then that's what I said, ma'am.
All right, can we get the screen, please?
She had to make sure she got a little glance so the jury could see her tears. But they didn't buy them, so don't worry. Also, fun fact, her attorney, let me move myself right here really quick. This guy with the egg skirt, he literally wore Birkenstocks with socks every day of the trial. Interesting.
You want a gun? Ever had a gun?
Disassembled it, I guess, in the front yard? Is that your statement?
He took it away from me, yes, ma'am, and took it apart and threw it on the ground.
And Callie said that you were outside. Where were you?
I was talking to her, saying her name. I got a towel. I prayed.
Again, you've heard the testimony of the officers who were on scene, have you not?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Howington, you didn't have a drop of blood on you. So how were you rendering aid to your daughter on scene?
I didn't really see a whole lot of blood on the front of her until we looked at that video or whatever the pictures. I didn't even know that there was that much blood on the couch.
You saw the front of her shirt, right? That had to be cut open?
Yes.
Saw that it had blood all over it, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay, so it's
It didn't have blood all over it, no. It just was like right here. When it happened, that's what I seen.
So you said that you rendered aid while you were on the phone with 911, is that right?
Yes, I kept asking them, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? And they couldn't tell me.
Was that before or after, again, while you're on the phone with 911? Is that before or after you're outside hiding the weapon that was just used to shoot your
I was
daughter?
on the phone with 911 when I took the gun outside.
Correct. But you also just testified that while you were on the phone with 911 that you were rendering.
How's your smile now?
All right, guys, I'm at an hour and 31 minutes, so I'm going to end this video now. I will leave a link to all of these trials, just in case you want to go and watch. This lady, she takes the cake on all of it. If you like this kind of content, you can go ahead and subscribe. Make sure to like and share to some other true crime people.